Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my show, The Triple B Experience. And tonight, I have the honor to introduce two gentlemen that I truly admire. And guys, two of the best in the professional wrestling business when I was running. Guys that are in and out of the ring, that are the most classiest, most respectful, and most hardworking individuals that I know. I love these guys dearly, and I'm so glad that these guys come on. Mr. Donnie Fulmer, Team Tap Out, and Chris Coleman from Team Tap Out. These guys are the best, and I'm bringing them on, and here we go. Hi, guys. Thanks for coming
Great,
on.
brother.
Thank you.
Great to
Thank
be
you
here.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Well,
Great.
well. It's been a long time, and I've always said that I wanted to do this, and now it's here. So let me ask you guys, how you guys been lately?
Well, extremely busy right now. It's wrestling season. We're in the postseason, and we're working night shift. Makes it kind of cramped schedule, but still getting the training in, getting the kids ready for their Junior Olympics and states and regionals and all that.
Well, I've seen you. You're a hell of a coach, Donnie. I mean, you are. I just seen you this past fall, Marion Center, junior high. You had those kids ready. They looked up to you and your knowledge and your coaching ability. It was a great game that I was there, and you're teaching the kids the ways of how to play and how to be respectful. So my hat's off to you. I couldn't do
Thank you.
what you do at all.
Yeah, it's more of a calling the coaching thing. It simply is, and where I feel like I should be.
Well, you're good at it. So big man up top, Mr. Power, Chris, the World Breaker. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Busy. Work keeps me pretty busy. And then obviously, wrestling dates and my other hobbies keep me on the move pretty much all the time.
Okay, well, you guys are movers and shakers. But let me ask you guys, how did you two meet? I don't know that story. So how did you guys?
Okay.
Yeah.
Tap out. You want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
All right.
Well, before we officially met, Chris was always coming to the APWF shows at Club Extreme, the old Raw Arena. And I was working as security at the time, if you remember. I was doing security for you guys and working in the ring. And this big kid with this big overcoat gets up into Muller's face, and I'm like analyzing the situation. Like, I might have to make this guy leave. So a few weeks later, we're fast forward. New guy comes to work wearing this big overcoat, looking like the Undertaker, coming into work, and he's coming to work on my crew. And it just grew from there.
Wow. So from the wrestling show of APWF, him, like, Chris, you were probably getting radical and crazy, because I remember those days.
Yeah, he was working up the crowd.
I would always get the crowd into a lather, and I had a real propensity for getting in the face of a bully. So like when Vomit or Mauler or whatever would like get into the face of one of the little kids, I would interject my face beside theirs and let them get nose to nose with me.
Yeah.
So then Donnie on a couple of occasions got word out through the locker room or whatever. Hey, tell him to sit down and settle himself, or I'm going to throw him out. All right, I'll behave.
But I don't think, Donnie, when you did security, I don't think it was crazy or anything like that, if I remember correctly. The club.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was all in good fun. I knew what he was doing. He was drawing heat and drawing attention. So it was good. It was good crowd interaction.
That was, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but that was a good place to do independent wrestling.
Yeah,
it was a good place.
That was
I
hot.
mean, we could fit 200, and on the back of a lot of you guys, you know what I mean? A lot of you guys that helped out, and then, got in a ring and trained and did that. So let's go from this to that. So how you guys met, to what made you guys interested in pro wrestling? Chris, let's go start with you, Chris.
Well, I mean, I loved pro wrestling from a little kid. Some of my earliest memories are, Ricky Steamboat and the Junkyard Dog and Hulk Hogan and watching early Crockett on TV.
Nice, good stuff. That's good stuff.
Most of the wrestling I saw as a little kid was NWA, because my cousin had a lot of the pay-per-views on tape. He had a connection to get the pay-per-views. So I saw like the Great American Bash and Night of the Skywalkers and and all those great shows, I saw them on videotape. So the introduction I had to wrestling was kind of classic Southern Carolina style wrestling, and then it just grew and grew. And my mother worked at a restaurant that you like
God
to
bless her.
frequent. That
Yes.
you like to frequent. Yes.
She was great.
You know, we miss her terribly.
Yeah, God bless her. She kept me in line too. She was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
she was so nice.
Yeah, and she found out through you that you were wrestling and you were running a promotion, and kind of got me hooked up going to the shows and stuff like that. And then when you started to expand, I knew I wanted to be a wrestler. I had to try it.
Yeah. How about you, Donnie?
Well, the earliest memory was with my dad and my grandpa Fulmer sitting at the fairgrounds watching a couple of mask guys. And then it just grew from there for watching early WWE stuff and then NWA, like the earlier stuff, even earlier than Chris, with Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair and Harley Race and Bruno Sammartino, just all the real classics, Bob Backlund,
Yeah, you guys are naming older wrestlers. So let me ask you guys a question. The older wrestlers you guys are talking, what made you get in to wrestling, to be a professional wrestler? Even though you said all these older names and stuff, they're legends in the mat. But what made you guys get into professional wrestling? Donnie, I'll start with you first.
Well, it was kind of chasing a dream, just trying to live a piece of a dream that, not even maybe getting to the big time, but just getting that little piece, to having a taste of what it's really like and seeing what I can get out of myself. And even more so when it comes to Chris, was getting him seen,
Okay, Chris, what about you?
Kind of a similar thing. I as a child, I was a sickly kid. My asthma was pretty terrible. I was a sickly child, and I always looked up to guys like Hogan and Warrior and those wrestlers. So I tried to train my body. That was the kind of athlete I wanted to be. I didn't want to be a baseball player. I didn't want to be a football player. That was the only kind of sport I wanted to do. Like I wanted to do something more physical, and wrestling was what I thought I wanted to do.
Now that story you said when you said you were sickly, I remember when you did that tryout on Route 119, and I tell you, you people are listening to this. Chris never said anything about his health issues when he did that tryout training. Dr. Feel Good went to and wanted to make it like WWE style. But we had running the ropes and small stuff. You did not tell me, and you did not say anything. And Sean was doing that, and I was fucked off. I'm not gonna lie. But I told you come back, and I was like I wasn't happy about it of what happened, because at that time it was more than just me, and I wish it was just me. Yeah, you didn't tell me that you had any health issues. You didn't fucking put it out there. You ran the ropes and stuff and did whatever was done, and it was it wasn't up to par from a guy who since he went and has some matches or whatever in WWE, and that's how he was doing that concept. And I told you to come back, and you did come back, and you come back with a fiery vengeance. You know what I mean? And it's been, jet fuels to the top ever since. I mean, you had a gimmick, when you got, and stuff like that. And I know, Donnie, you weren't happy about that situation, what happened, but yeah, that was, he never said nothing. And I give him credit. And
just try to get him ready for it mentally, because like I said, that was the thing at the time. Let's do this tryout thing. Well, it wasn't necessary at that point.
No, but
let's
do that.
Learn.
Yeah. So you got into quote unquote the APWF training facility, and I did try to give people opportunities. I'm not going to deny that, and I'm glad that you guys were a part of that. And well, first it was the Heroes of Wrestling, I believe. Yes.
Yes, it was. Yep.
That was a great gimmick, Chris. Tell everybody about this little gimmick that you thought of on your own, because even though I was the owner and whatever, you had creative ideas and you were fresh into the business, and I didn't say no. So tell them.
So my original gimmick, I was not full contact Chris Coleman. I was not the world beater Chris Coleman. I was originally the enforcer Gabriel Anderson. I was gonna be one of the Horseman's illegitimate children from the West Coast. You know, when they used to work out of the West Coast and live in Vegas for the weekend, I was going to be one of Ole or Arn's illegitimate children, and I had the enforcer, and the my tag team partner at that time was TP Hardcore.
TP Hardcore.
Yeah,
Terry,
I remember. Yeah,
Terry,
yep.
Terry, if you're listening, we love you, brother. And
Damage
we had
Incorporated.
Yep, and we had the tag team. We were Damage Incorporated.
And you had this concept, and you told me, and I did not say no.
No.
And everybody out there listening, like Chris was just fresh. I believe it was his first match, and he come up with these ideas.
I was 20 years old.
Yeah, and I thought it was a phenomenal idea. The illegitimate nephew of one of the Andersons. He looked like an Anderson. I'm like, yeah, go. And it was Heroes of Wrestling on 119 in that little building by Rain Township. Anywhere I can find a place. I mean, hey, but you know what though? It was small, but there were some people there.
Yep.
I don't have it on tape. Of course not. I mean, that was the time where that was. But yeah, I mean, you got to come up with your own gimmick that early in your career, and that's unheard of now or anywhere. Like, unheard of.
Yep. Yeah. Now they pretty much, it's plug and play. Okay, we have this gimmick. Who's the guy that we have that looks like he could fit the bill? Okay, now you're this guy. There's less of that creativity, at least in the upper tier now. It seems that way anyway.
Right.
So I'm obviously not at that level, so I don't know if that's precisely what's happening, but it certainly seems like that's a lot of what's going on.
Yeah, because
they write this character, and okay, let's find a guy that looks like this character.
Because it's unheard of. That doesn't happen, people. That you just don't be new and fresh and green and come up with a character, and the promoter and the owner of a company was like, oh yeah. I mean, I that's how I was though. People, you can think outside the box, and Chris thought outside the box, and it was great, and I let him go with it. We didn't run. Heroes of Wrestling wasn't very long. I mean, I will say that. But so Donnie, how did you come up with your persona and your gimmick when you got into wrestling?
We started training with mixed martial arts stuff, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Jonas Cavalier. And I started diving into, taking my wrestling, folk style wrestling, advance of that into submission style and following MMA and stuff like that. So once I got proficient at the different holds and the grips and the submissions, I come up with it that way.
Okay, so now when you guys are working, are you guys talking about concepts of ideas when you guys are working together? Was you guys always strictly talking wrestling when you guys are working together, and we need to do this and we could do that?
There was a lot of wrestling.
Yeah, we talk a lot of wrestling at work, and then not only did we work together, we were training partners. So we were working 10 to 6:30 every night. We would get off work. Donnie would go to class. I would go home and sleep. We would meet each other at that gym out at 119 by Rain Township School at 2:00 every afternoon, Monday through Friday, and we'd bang iron for 2 hours. And while and that your ring was there, so we'd bang iron, and then we'd go in and we'd work on a new hold or a new chain that we were, okay, well, I get here. How do we reverse out of that? Or I have an idea. Why don't we try it out? And we were constantly pitching ideas back and forth at each other.
Okay. So when you guys were pitching ideas and you had a couple matches, probably under now it's the APWF, because now I'm back doing whatever due to a lot of controversy and whatever. People probably piss me off and whatever, you know how that goes in the world of independent wrestling. So how did you guys come up with this concept to be a tag team?
mindset. It just fit. We just fit together. The way we train together, the way we think, we can look at each other and we know what we're thinking. So it was just one of those, it was just a natural transition. Because I looked at him one day, it's like, all right, we're going to do this.
And you come up with the team name and the individual name.
Yes.
How did you guys do that at work? Like get a notebook and jot some stuff down and go after and check it off and see how it sounded, or?
As I recall, like I was coming up, I transitioned when Heroes of Wrestling shut down. You pointed me towards Cato up at KCW, like, hey, here's somewhere you can go and keep training and work. And he wasn't keen with the Gabriel Anderson gimmick, so he said, okay, let's kind of come up with something else. And Donnie and I had been training jiu-jitsu, like he said, and one of my favorite mixed martial artists of all time is Mark the Hammer Coleman.
Okay.
So I decided, okay, well, why don't I do why don't I do the shoot fighter gimmick? Do like Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn had done before me, and be a shoot fighter, and I'll take Mark Coleman's last name and I'll become Chris Coleman. And then I tacked on the full contact because I was a full contact fighter. And he said, yeah, that sounds good. Let's run with that. And I became full contact Chris Coleman. So you have Mr. Tap Out and full contact Chris Coleman. Well, I was perfectly content with just being Team Tap Out, like Team Militich and Team Rampage, and like all of the fight teams, Team Gracie. You take one of the guys and you're team, whatever. So Donnie was the elder statesman of our team. He was the one that helped me get in, and in all aspects of it, the weightlifting and all that stuff. So I was like, yeah, let's be Team Tap Out.
Now, did you use that concept in KCW?
I used the full contact concept in KCW. We didn't work as a tag team up at KCW ever.
Oh no, that's right. I was thinking
we were purely, we were Team Tap Out in APWF and DCW and RWA. We never wrestled as Team Tap Out in KCW.
Okay, so you guys got your start at Team Tap Out in the Allied Powers Wrestling Federation. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that came. Now, how did you guys, like, when you brought that to the attention? Who did you talk to? If the people out there. Oh, okay, me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
We always went straight to the guy who was in charge. So we were talking to you. You were the guy. You were the guy running the show. So we're like, all right, Bubba.
Sometimes I didn't think so, but thank you for that.
We're like, all right, Bubba. We want to be a team. We want to be Team Tap Out.
What did I tell you?
I seem to recall you weren't 100% sold on Donnie's, like, the extreme submission machine, Mr. Tap Out, but you liked Mr. Tap Out. And you loved the team concept and what we were going to do. So you let us run with that. And then later that extra moniker got tagged onto Donnie's name.
Oh, so I didn't like the excessive Mr. Tap Out.
You didn't like the extreme submission machine, Mr. Tap Out for about 3 months. And then you're like,
sorry,
what? That's for about 3 months you were like that. And then you were like, you know what? That sounds great. Let's go with that anyway.
Oh, Christ. Oh, well, I mean, I always liked tag teams. And now this was this up at, what was your first match as a tag team in APWF? Do you remember who you worked?
Would have been at the K Arena.
The K Arena.
So our first match as a tag team probably would have been
2005. It'd be 2005.
It's 2005. So it would have been.
Was it the Barbell Mafia?
No.
Or was it the?
It was about that time. It might have been Extreme. It might have been Squig and McGrath.
It might be.
No, they weren't the first one. I remember that match clearly.
Okay. But it was in that same era. So
Gotcha.
there were some great tag teams in there. There was Youth Gone Wild was there. The West Coast Hustlers were there. Extreme was there.
I think we had Craig as the Russian destroyer.
Yeah. Yes, and you had you had TC as the masked assassin or
Yeah.
something. I don't
And
remember exactly what his gimmick
And
was.
then the Newsies.
Yep, the Newsies came later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Brandon and Floyd.
Floyd.
Yes.
Yep.
Nasty Nick Norton.
Nasty Nick Norton. Yep.
Oh God. And you had Mav and you had Cable as a
Yeah.
Japanese guy. And
Yep. You had Maverick McCoy and you had Cable. Yep.
wow.
Yeah,
So we had a lot of tag teams.
Yeah, we had quite a few tag teams then. Yeah,
I like tag teams. I that's why I liked. So
hey, both of us grew up, loving tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
A lot of our tag teams. If you ask us to name our top 5 tag teams,
I just might.
three of them are going to be the exact same. Yeah.
Probably. Well, that's good. It'd probably be the same as mine, probably. But so you guys had a couple matches and the K Arena. Explain to the people at K about the K Arena and how the wrestling, the persona and the atmosphere in that venue when you guys wrestled in that venue. If you don't mind saying something.
Okay. Go ahead and take that one, Donnie.
It was great. Once you cut through the curtain and you get that crowd reaction, get them rolling. I mean, it's a different feeling. It's one you end up missing later on in life, is cutting through the curtain and getting that reaction from the crowd, whether you're a heel or a face. At the time where we're big faces, so getting them into it, it was really a good environment as far as getting the crowd interaction and getting a hot crowd.
What about you, Chris?
And to add on to that, they were hot crowds, and that building in the winter was freezing ass cold. Because for those of you that don't know what the K Arena was, it was a rodeo arena. So we're on the upper level of this rodeo arena. The heat does not travel well in a building that size and shape. So it is freezing cold. The ring stings like a bitch when you hit it because the ring has been cold for 3 months and doesn't give. The canvas stings your skin, but the crowds were so hot and with us, the whole show. They suffered through it was very much reminiscent of that Club Extreme, that Raw Arena building.
Yeah.
Because that building used to get freezing cold, but the crowds were so great and so receptive to what was going on. They were great wrestling crowds.
And we had it on the higher level, and we had some great shows there. But I think honestly, as I recanted in my head, sometimes it was overbooking too many matches because I was a friend and I wanted to be nice to everybody, and sometimes it was too long. But let me ask you, I do not think you guys were ever heels in the APWF or ever. You guys were never heels ever as a tag team.
Not locally.
We not locally. We were at RWA.
Okay.
When we went to RWA, they booked us. Feel Bad and the bookers down there booked us as a heel. They put us with the heel faction down there.
Yeah.
But as far as APWF and DCW went, we were never heels. They tried. Troy kind of tested the waters with it. One or two shows. He's like, all right, guys, I want to test the water, see if I could turn you heel. I want you to go out there. I want you to go out there and I want you to do something that everyone knows is not right and see how they react. And I remember we were working Ashton Amherst and Sammy Elias.
Great tag team.
Great tag team.
Sammy's really great to work with.
2 great guys that were so great to work with. I'd love to be able to work with either one or both of them ever again. Donnie had a submission on Sammy, I believe, and I had Ashton.
Okay.
And their manager at the time was going, hey, Chris, you got to let him go. You got to let him go. You got to let him go. And I replied to him, not until he's dead.
Okay.
And the crowd popped. They're kill him. And so we knew at that point there was no way you could ever turn us heel in that town.
There was no way anyway. There would be no way in this area to turn you guys heel. That would not ever. That was not anywhere in my attention. Now, I don't know what Troy was thinking in his deal over across the yonder, but no, you just can't. Because you walk down the street of Indiana and stuff, and people go to shows and people know and they want to talk to you, and you can't be like, you're a heel, Saturday night, and then try, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. So, okay. So you wrestled those guys. Those guys were great. Now, when you went to RWA and you were playing these heels, who did you have an angle with down there?
Team Smut, Gory, and CJ Sensation. That was our first angle, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, they were good. They're good guys.
Yep.
Still in the business.
We did an injury angle with CJ and actually turned Gory heel, had him turn on CJ, and join the heel faction. So we split that team up, and then we went into a program with the TV casualties, Tommy Horror and Johnny Switchblade.
I've heard those names. I can't remember if I ever seen them.
And then after
was it a horror and a Switchblade, or is it? I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know. I can't remember them.
They were young guys. They were super green.
Gotcha.
Tommy was somewhat limited, physically, because of his size and his mobility.
Okay.
Not that he wasn't a great guy and very respectful and did whatever he asked him to. It's just there were things he could not do. Okay. And Johnny was another one of those kids that wanted to be in the business so bad. If you asked him to run headfirst through a wall, he would.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, great. Again, great guy. And then we moved on to a feud with the Factory, D. Drake and Beast Ron, God rest him.
Okay, yeah. I remember that. that.
And that was, I don't know about Donnie, but I think that was my favorite feud that we worked.
Absolutely.
Down at RWA. We had
that was so much fun.
Now let me ask you a question, guys. Is that your favorite feud and opponents to wrestle as you guys being Team Tap Out?
I think so.
I can go with that.
I mean,
the way we gelled in the ring, the things we made happen in there was perfect.
Yeah, okay. and I mean, on the flip side of that, we also had a great feud at DCW with the Wrong Crowd, Paul Atlas and Brian Anthony.
Oh, wow!
They were so smooth to work. It was. Those were great matches and easy matches.
But those two guys were the former former NWA champions, I believe. Yeah. I believe in some kind of capacity. So so that's huge and a feather of your guys' caps. Because Paul is great. Paul's a legend in Western Pennsylvania. Paul's just a great guy, and I think he's doing stuff with RWA right now. And I work with him at the Fight Underground and stuff, and I wrestled Paul, and I mean that's so did you guys feud like in DCW?
Yeah, we feud.
Yep,
that's awesome.
We feuded over the tag team titles. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of tag team titles, did you guys win belts in every place that you went?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. Fucking nice.
Hey, on a side note, we never lost the second championships in APWF.
Yeah,
we were not beaten for those belts.
You're still the champs.
You took the company and moved to Florida. We are owed a match. We are owed a match with the Shane twins. You gave the Shane twins our
that was part of the great ideas and business sense of in your car traveling with a man of Chris Lash when we had APWF South and APWF North and we were trying to do that. We had delusions of grandeur. And yes, you're absolutely right because the Shane twins were the tag team champions in Florida. And you guys were definitely, boy, great plans, but nothing ever transpired, though. Nothing ever transpired. But so you guys are still my fucking tag team champs. And
yes,
undefeated for 10 years.
I mean, we're the longest reigning tag champs ever.
That's right. Well, let me ask you a question, Donnie. Let me ask you this question, Donnie, because Chris is still in the business. Do you have a little itch to actually maybe have one more team tap out match? Do you have I know physically, Donnie, you're a physical specimen. Both you guys are power lifters and fucking rocks. Do you have I don't want me to put you on a spot, but I'm going to. Do you have a little inclination of you and Chris one more time and doing it and putting a little bow together?
Bring it full circle.
Yes.
Always got one in the chat. Always got one in the chamber.
So that answers yes. And I wish I could. I wish by the grace of God, if I hit the Powerball, I could make that dream come true. Because I believe I honestly, and you know, I don't want to be gushing over here, but I mean, you guys were great as tag teams under the APWF banner. I mean, like you just said, everywhere you went, you kicked ass and take names, and you were champions everywhere. So let me ask you, your champions, APWF. What other one? Diamond Championship Wrestling
And RWA.
and RWA. Okay, that's and you guys got out and about to get out of the area to actually transport to other places, which is good. You didn't want to. You weren't just. You were good in your backyard, but when you went out, you were just as good or even better.
Yes.
It was a good test.
Yes.
Really. It was.
Okay. Did you go anywhere? Have you guys gone anywhere else? I can't remember.
As a team,
No.
no.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. When and how, when the ending of your team? Like, I don't know what happened. What made you guys,
the ending? I'll take this one because I was the decision maker there.
Okay.
We were wrestling a match in Charleroi, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it was Charlotte. Right.
Okay.
And we were wrestling Beast and Gator, the third man in the factory.
Okay.
And Beast and I were brawling out. We're brawling on the floor. We went to the floor. And Beast picked up one of those, old fire hall chairs with the metal bar across it and blew my head open with it.
Okay.
Blew me open. They had to cut out part of my hair here in the front and put in 3 butterfly sutures to get it closed. And
oh shit.
And we're driving back from Charleroi that day, and I realized that at that time I didn't have health insurance, and even if I did, what I made that night wouldn't have covered an ER copay.
No.
If I'd have had to go get stitches.
Right.
And
hot dog and a handshake.
Right. I got home, and my girlfriend at the time and my mother looked at my head, and
oh God,
I did not get well received from either of them, and
Okay.
I started thinking about, okay, well, maybe it's time to kind of hang this up for a while, or ever. So I decided, and I talked with Donnie, and Donnie was very supportive of
Okay.
it. That I said, okay, let's finish out all of our bookings for the rest of the year. We had 3 bookings left, 2 with Diamond and 1 with RWA. Let's work out the rest of our bookings and not take any in the new year. And it was November of 2009. I wrestled a singles match against big time Bill Collier at Diamond Championship Wrestling, and that was my retirement match.
I remember that.
Mhm.
I remember that.
And then fast forward, several years later,
I was there. I was there.
Yeah, you were at that match. So
I
then
was.
fast forward, 7 or 8 years later. I never really got out of the business. I was always still around it. I was always, talking. I did the Power Reunion show and a couple here and there, and helping out guys, and always talking with Bill Collier and guys that were still in the business, helping them, talking with them all the time. So I was never truly like out of the business. Because as well as anyone, Bubba, you're never out of the wrestling business ever.
No.
Once you're in it, you're never out of it. It's never out of you.
Like the mafia.
And I was in a kind of a bad mental and physical place, and I was having trouble getting motivated to go train and go to the gym. And
Donnie didn't like that.
No, Donnie was never a fan of that. When I got unmotivated, he wanted to kick my head in. He always wanted to wrap me upside the head and get me motivated. And sometimes it's hard. I'm stubborn. So my wife at the time said, well, when were you in your best shape? I said, when I was wrestling. I said, because I would get up and go to the gym every day because I wanted to look the best and move the best and and perform the best and be the best wrestler I could be.
Uh-huh.
She said, well, why don't you go back to wrestling?
Wow, that's just.
I said, well, I thought you didn't like me wrestling. She's like, no, I didn't like you wrestling without health insurance. That has been settled. So if you want to go back to wrestling, go back to wrestling. And that was all I needed. And I went, I just showed up at the Imagine Dojo one night and got back to the races.
The rest is history. Donnie, what about you?
That was a bittersweet moment, but it was probably the necessary at the time because I was pretty worn out. I was running a tough schedule, and I just need to spend more time at home. That from point where I just need to take a break and spend time at home. Because if you're getting to the business and you have a family, it's a little bit rougher. As far as booking dates, and to my credit, I never missed any of my daughter's events, but just being home is important. So it was like, once we got through those last matches, like, I'm taking a break.
Okay. And their last match was where, Donnie, if you remember?
Same night as Chris's up in Hastings, but I had Shane Taylor.
Wow. I was, yep. Yeah, because I believe I walked in the ring and I don't think I was supposed to. But I was going to, and I was going to be there no matter what. And I don't think nobody was going to stop me anyway. Let's put it that way.
No, we were happy to see you there. That was.
Yeah, I know. And it was
important that you were there.
Well, yes, because you guys were important instruments and good people. Like Chris used to, my God, Chris, you used to train the guys up at K Arena. You were my trainer, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
And that I wish I could have gave everybody a lot more money than I did and did whatever. But there's stuff that I can't repay financially, but the memories that you guys gave me and, you guys were a great tag team, and I don't know why more people didn't book you as a tag team at that time. I
will say this. Donnie and I both worked early morning shifts at that time. And we were working 4 a.m. to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 days a week, and a lot of times we didn't have weekends off. So we didn't work Monday through Friday 9 to 5 where we could then wrestle Saturday and Sunday every week. So the dates we took were the dates that mattered the most to us in the companies that mattered the most to us. We couldn't at that point afford to branch out to go any further.
Okay.
Because if we'd went into Ohio or New York or anywhere else like that, we'd have been getting back 2-3 o'clock in the morning, sleeping for 20 minutes in our car and going to work.
Yeah, you couldn't do that because I've seen you guys work. I've seen Donnie working at work and then getting ready and doing a show like 2 hours. We used to run in Commodore and stuff when you guys were wrestling and stuff. But yeah, so wow. Okay, so you're still in it. You're liking it. You're still doing it, and Donnie, you still have a little bit of you, like you said, you had in the chamber. Can there anybody out there? Let's listen. Can anybody like write a good story and tell a good ending? I know this guy could, but I'm not a promoter anymore. But just the nostalgic look of guys, because Indiana County was a hotbed for guys being professional wrestling. 3 of us on this podcast right now were originally from Indiana County. It was APWF got a lot of locals into wrestling, and where we didn't have it back then. We had, WWE at the Omni and stuff like that. But like the 3 of us, Charlie Pouch, Charlie Manson, Nick Norton, Gable and Mav,
Mike and Frank.
Yeah. Duke, Dom, Punksy,
yep. Dom, yep.
Sean, Sean, it was good. Like everybody got along. There was no, there was egos, but nobody really like the Indiana and Jefferson County. Everybody, I still get along. You guys are like we're all brothers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was never anything like that I can recall. I'm not trying to blow smoke up anybody's ass, but it was pretty cohesive. We had to deal with Mr. God bless his soul, Chris Lash, but you know, it was because that's just the promoter in him, you know what I mean? But, you know, and Troy, yeah, I forgot Troy, you know,
Yep,
so,
yep.
and Craig. So, I mean, there was a lot of people. So
Yep.
you guys were cornerstones to professional wrestling in Indiana County. So, I mean, my hat's off to you guys. And I know you're still doing it, Chris, and Donnie, you're doing all kind of stuff. And your workouts, both your workouts are phenomenal because you guys are doing some strongman competitions, correct? At one time?
Yes.
At one time, I just train that way, but
Yeah, I you know, kind of like the wrestling business and you know, strongman and powerlifting. It's never quite out of you. So I'm always looking at always looking for a show. You know, like, okay, you know, I'm looking at contests. Like, okay, where is this one? Is it close enough? Can I do
Yeah.
it? Like,
Uh-huh.
can I sneak out there and do this show on weekend and come back? So you know, strongman's always, you know, going to be a love of mine.
Well, that's a good love to have, and I know Donnie's coaching stuff. I mean, he was coaching the guys, the young kids at that powerlifting meet. Man, he helped my nephew out tremendously, and I will never. I mean, I mean, it's great. I know there's one coming up next week, and I'm going to go and see my Vinnie Mac do what he can do, and he's trained like a God bless him.
Yep.
he's
got more,
he's a beast. He's gonna do awesome.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
got more power than me.
I've seen Vinny lift. I've been there, you know, at
Yeah,
the Marion Center meet. He's yeah,
yeah,
he's
he's
got
something
it.
else. But I mean, you know, Coach Donnie. So if you guys had an opportunity, one match, I keep going back to this. Who do you think you guys would like to work for one last time if you could work? If I could be a magical booker and tomorrow print out tickets and the posters and hit the Powerball and you know, make that dream come true, which I would if I could. Who would your opponents be?
Donnie, I'll
Team
let
Tap.
you throw one out there, and I've got one in mind.
Okay.
I'll let you throw yours.
Now
Team
you
Tap
gotta
Out.
do it first. I'll see if we're on the same page.
I have two.
Oh, you can say them. It's okay.
You know, if I had to do, you know, okay, Team Tap Out. This is Team Tap Out's last hurrah as a team. I would want to work tag teams. I would want to either work the Rad Boys or the main event.
Ooh.
The main event, Gannon and Duke.
Wow.
You know what? I like where your head's at because I was thinking Rad Boys. I forgot about Gannon and Duke for a second, but I was also thinking the Watch because
Yeah,
I think that's a good.
my fellow watchmates.
Yeah.
Malachi and Alpha. Yeah.
Wow. So you guys, every tag team you guys mentioned, that's a main event match. But let me throw another tag team in there for you guys, if this fantasy booking of mine could actually happen. How about Money Shot?
I would love that match. I recently on a 3-day loop of Canada for Greektown Wrestling. I got to see Nystrom work 3 nights, and he was phenomenal. To me, he has a very reminiscent look of a young Barry Windham. Yeah, he's excellent. I would love the opportunity to work the two of them.
Well, that was that was 4 tag teams that could possibly. So if any promoter is out there listening, and I hope I have a lot of people listening to my Triple B Experience interviews and shows. Look, we just threw it out there. Donnie says he got one more in a chamber, and let me say this: if that ever happened, I'm going to be I'm going to be trying to do my damnedest to get people to come to see it. So I will throw that out there. So if people's listening, if there's any promoter that would want to book this match, and Donnie will be in ring shape. Donnie, you're already a fucking powerhouse. You know what I mean? You're a brick shit house anyway, you know, pushing 18-foot tractors and blazers up over your head. So,
Not over my
so
head.
yeah. So if there's anybody in the Western Pennsylvania area that watches this show is like, oh, okay, Bubba's doing. Oh, he's in Team Tap Out. Oh, wow, this is something. I tell you what, I will help out and use my social media and my mouth, as golden as it is, to get people to get tickets to see one last time Team Tap Out against any one of those teams that you guys mentioned. So let's hopefully that Donnie, if it comes down, I'm going to call you. And he'd be like, "Oh, I'm ready, Bubba. You don't got to call me. Just throw the bat signal up. I'm there." So we shall see. So maybe I'm throwing a Hail Mary pass. One more because I know what it feels like, guys, to get that one last thing, and you know I'm good now. You know what I mean? I don't have any. I like to help the people in the business and do whatever, and young people and do whatever. That's great, and give back. And and Imagine Wrestling did that for me with a nice little bow. And I can't get my fiance saw me wrestle. My nephews, you know, I'm good. So, and it was very hard. I'm not going to say it wasn't very hard. My boots are on the wall, but yeah, hopefully a promoter can hear this and we'll do that. But let's go into some questions before we get out of here.
Okay.
I'm going to go with you first, Donnie. Your favorite wrestler
My favorite wrestler
of all time. One, you get one.
I get one.
You get one, brother. Chris got a little time to think, so.
Now I'm going to go with Bryan Danielson right now.
Okay, Bryan Danielson it is. Your favorite wrestler of all time? Boom, Bryan Danielson. Chris?
The Undertaker.
I kind of figured that was going to happen.
He used to dress like the Undertaker.
Okay, now I'm gonna go with Chris on this one.
Okay.
Chris, your favorite tag team?
The Road Warriors.
Donnie?
The Road Warriors. Come on.
I knew it. Greatest tag team of all time. See, I knew when we did this, when I was good at this, it was going to be the same thing. So let me ask you, Chris, since you're still into business.
Okay.
Okay, how do you feel the state of independent wrestling is now compared to when you started? And Donnie, that'll be the same question for you too.
So the state of independent wrestling now versus when I started is it seems like there's way more promotions out there. Because when I first started, APWF was local, KCW hadn't started yet, and so like IWC I think was in its infancy. It might have been PWX or something else of that nature. I don't rightly recall, but now you have so many more promotions. You have Rise and IWC and PWR and Revenge and Imagine and all these promotions spread out across just our half of the state, to where there's so many more places a young wrestler can go and get himself in front of people in different types of crowds, because not every crowd is going to react the same way that your home crowd does. So
Right.
how do you know how over you are unless you go other places to find out?
Good. Donnie?
Tell the story. Tell the story in the ring. Stick with the psychology. You don't have to do too much in the ring as much to sell it as you do just tell a nice story with your matches. Use the psychology. Don't try to overdo it. Don't try to get your stuff in. This kind of trends I'm kind of seeing with people. You don't have to go over top to tell a good story. Just get out there and give the crowd what they want. Put it out there.
Okay. So let me ask you guys, like Chris, because you said there's a conglomerate of a lot of independent companies. Do you guys, this could be a yes or no answer. Do you think one of these days in Western Pennsylvania that all these owners and of companies could get together and have some kind of independent super card to have it where they could do it in different locations every year or do it quarterly, where everybody could work together and they could set their egos aside? Could you see it ever happening?
They'd actually have to talk about it.
Right. It would have to be a planned thing.
Yeah.
And there would be a lot of moving parts there. But do I think it might happen? Maybe.
Okay.
Would I like to see it happen? Absolutely, because there's so many, so many companies out there with great talent, highly polished, highly trained guys, from the good schools that could put together some really great shows.
Okay. Yeah, I was that's always one of my dreams is seeing something like that because when I went to Florida, Pennsylvania at the time was getting shit talked by everybody down in the Sunshine State, and they just thought it was and the egos. If people would just set their egos aside, it would be probably greater and just get a calendar out and it's like, hey, I don't want to book this. Let's not book the same day. Let's not do double bookings because then everybody can get a piece of the pie. Like that's how I would be, but. You know what I mean? But I maybe it'll come. Maybe it'll happen. So, Donnie, let me ask you: when you guys were on the road, what was a typical day in the life of Team Tap Out when you guys were getting ready to do a show?
Well, we'd meet up, we'd train, plan when we're leaving, get a workout in, and hit the road. Get there.
So you guys would work out before. All right. So he's what? You pack a lunch. You guys what? Just eat some protein shakes and go, or
pretty much a grab and go sometimes.
Okay.
Unless one of us is working, then we meet up after work. So
okay, even if you worked, you guys would still train and then go to the gig.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we tried to do anyway.
Wow. Some guys wouldn't even do that. I mean, we probably know half of them. I mean, I'm not busting anybody's balls, but you know what I mean? Like you guys were, I mean, dedication is an unwritten thing and you guys are very dedicated. So one of my last questions here, what would you say to your younger self just getting into the wrestling business, knowing what you guys know now? Whoever wants to start.
Go ahead.
What would I say to my younger self? Just keep working. Work. Get out other places. Get in front of other crowds. Try to get with try to wrestle as many people as you can. I was somewhat limited in the early part of my career with the number of opponents I got to wrestle. So, whereas, some of the guys who have been in the business a lot less time than me have way more matches than I do. So my advice would be get out there, get in front of more people, get more reps, work.
Donnie?
Attention to detail. I tell myself attention to detail. Probably use my gimmick a little bit stronger, put it out there a little bit more, because I think I maybe underutilized submissions and my holds throughout, but stick with psychology and tell the story of my character.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I wish if I could go back in time, I would be like, I think I'd just keep on walking, I guess. No, I don't know. It's hard to say. And I recant stuff, too, but I just wanted to ask you guys this question. Now, before we get out of here, I know you're still wrestling, Chris. So right now, independently, maybe you both, because Donnie, maybe you go to shows and I know you pay attention on the internet. Who do you think right now in Western Pennsylvania is the up and coming star right now of the independent scene of any company right now?
Up and coming.
I mean, I'm a Bill Collier fan. I mean, I always will be. But I mean, somebody younger that's just getting into the business. I mean, I like the Rad Boys too, but somebody that's just fresh and new, maybe. Those guys have a great career ahead of them. I know that for a fact, but just somebody new. Maybe somebody's training. Maybe Chris knows somebody that's training right now that I don't even know, but who would you guys think?
I mean, recently I've seen like Spencer Slade is a fantastic young guy. And another one I wrestle tonight or Saturday night rather. Alexander Apollo, another young guy who's got a big upside. He's a big kid. He's well put together. He moves well. So Spencer and Apollo. Out of our dojo, there's some great young guys. The Rad Boys, obviously. Gorgeous Gregory just coming up.
I've seen him.
Yeah, I mean, he's 18 years old. I mean, he's got a lot of time ahead of him to really, really get good. He turned 18 like 6 months ago. So
Nice.
the sky's the limit for him. He just has to put in the work.
Right.
There's so many guys, and if I forget to mention a guy's name, they'll shit all over me. Like, oh, Coleman doesn't like me.
Yeah.
I get hit in the head a lot, guys.
Yeah.
All of my hobbies involve violence, and most of it towards my skull. So forgive me if I don't remember to mention everybody. But Spencer and Apollo, Greg, the Rad Boys, Chris Sands, the young kid. A lot of guys coming up right now that are going to be really good in the next 5 to 8 years.
So the hot spot, Donnie. Who do you think offhand?
Well, I'm obviously going to go with Spencer. I've been watching some of his stuff, paying close attention. He's still got some learning to do, which he will, obviously.
So it's actually it's a hot spot. Like now is the hottest time of independent wrestling around here. Like, you know what I mean? So it's a good time to be a fan, to pay attention, and to go to shows. And
the Rad Boys are just fun. They're going to be fun to watch them develop and grow.
Well, I think they did it. They remind me of the Midnight Rockers mixed in with the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah, and that's a good mix. It's a good gimmick.
Yeah, I think it's a great gimmick. I think they got the top of the mountain to climb. So, guys, Chris, do you have anything? Do you guys have anything to plug? Tell what you guys are doing. How did people get a hold of you? Like social media, anything like that, Chris? That you want to plug?
Yeah. So I'm obviously wrestling Saturday night. It's myself and the Gavel David Lawless versus.
I like the Gavel. He's a big Batman fan, man.
Yeah.
Tell him I said hello.
I will. Versus Alexander Apollo and Mambo Italiano. So that's at Imagine Wrestling. We're at the Juniata Civics Association building there in Altoona. You can see all of Imagine's stuff. They have the Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Imagine Wrestling. You can get a hold of me at Chris Coleman Strong on Instagram. That's my Instagram account. I'm not as active probably as I should be, but because I'm quasi technologically illiterate.
Yeah,
I feel you. I feel your pain.
But that's that's the plugs I've got.
World Breaker T-shirts hot on sale.
Yeah, World Beater Chris Coleman T-shirts. They're brand new. I'll have them for the first time ever at the show on Saturday night.
There we go, people. Come to Imagine Wrestling, and you can get Chris Coleman shirts right off the presses. Donnie, where can people find you at, Donnie?
I'm on Instagram too, Facebook, but I don't put that out there so much. Is what I do want to say. Without APWF, there is no DCW. There is no KCW, or even Imagine for that matter. So that impact from APWF is big on the lives of what you did and what you try to do for everybody. And I appreciate you, and I love you for the opportunity. So that's mainly what I'm about right now in this moment. But for plug-in, I'm going to plug up Alexander Strength Conditioning, Watkins Boxing, and Elite Combatives, because those guys are all great guys that run those systems.
Yeah, they are great guys, and you two are the greats of the greats, and I appreciate you guys taking your time because I know you guys are busy, and I've been a fan and a friend and a brother a long time, and I wanted to get this, and I'm glad you guys can come on and tell your story, and maybe one more time we got a chapter to finish out, and but you guys are great as the reigning APWF Tag Team Champions since 2009. Undefeated. But guys, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And you guys can come on anytime and shoot the shit. And I enjoyed this this going back machine. Donnie, that was, I appreciate, Donnie, what you just said. And Chris, I appreciate everything you did in the training when you guys trained the guys. And Donnie, I just appreciate you because you're Mr. Positive. You guys together are one of the greatest tag teams in APWF history. And you guys had a great gimmick, and you guys had a good career. And it was just an honor to see you guys in the ring. So now, without further ado, everybody, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit like and subscribe to the Triple B Experience, and we just had an experience tonight with Donnie, Mr. Fulmer, Team Tap Out, and Full Contact Chris Coleman. So everybody, thank you. Guys, want to say something before you guys take off?
Hey, I'll see you guys around. Take care.
Yeah, we'll see you around, Bubba. Much love to you.
Oh, thank you guys. Awesome. Okay, thank you guys. Peace out. We're getting ready. Boom.